Well, hello, folks. It's Mike Hanson here. This is the year 2020. And this video that you're getting ready to see on Waco Archives is Catherine Matteson. She's passed away back in 2007. And this is when she was on my show, even before Alex Jones became famous down at ACTV. This is when I had my own show down here at ACTV, and Catherine Matteson agreed to come on. She is one of the Waco survivors, and boy, was she a pistol. And right after I play this interview that I did with her, which is really amateur, way back when she just first got out of jail, and she wasn't charged. They finally let her go. They did charge her at first and tried to keep her in jail and keep her with on house arrest and this and that. But later on, they let her go. This was like maybe 95 or 96. I'm not sure exactly. It's when way before the general public knew the real details about what was going on with Waco. You remember Waco, the end of it happened April 19th. 1993. She was there when the raid happened in February 28th of 1993. She saw the helicopter shooting David's room. Shooting. They said they weren't shooting out of the helicopters. That was a bunch of crap. She'll tell you that. And then we talked him in later on to going on to Extra, the TV show. We're going to play that right after my interview, and she really hammers them and calls them murderers and everything else. And it just gets better and better toward the year 2020 about finding information out about what happened at Waco. And also then later on, 1999, we rebuilt the church for our friends, the Branch Davidians, and we dedicated the church to them in 2000. 20 years ago. Time goes by quick. It's already been about 26 years since, maybe 27, 1993. 26 or 27 years since this happened. So I hope you enjoy this interview. It's one of the first interviews with Catherine Matteson here in Austin, Texas. She ended up living in Austin, Texas, and I've become really, really, really good friends with her. And loved her to death. I think she died in 2007, 2008, or something like that. But I hope you enjoy this interview. And then right after, we're going to play the extra interview. This is our new channel, the Waco Archives. We're going to try to put all our interviews we've done over the last 25 years on here. All righty, God bless. If you want to get in touch with us here, it's P.O. Box 481 Gonzales, Texas, or our other address 901 St. Joseph's here in Gonzales, Texas. Thanks a lot and God bless. We have in my opinion, a world famous person here tonight, Catherine Matteson. She's a Mount Carmel survivor, and were you the only one that saw the helicopter shooting at the house when they first came up, or was any other survivors left?
Well, some of them, there was two other ladies. One heard them, and one saw them. Mm-hmm. But they didn't see the shooting. I saw the shooting. And that was the first shots that were made was from the three helicopters. And they were aiming at David's room, and that was the only room they could be aiming at. And they did really make it so full of holes that when Jack Zimmerman saw it, he said it looked like Swiss cheese.
Okay, we got telephone calls. Give us a call at 477-2288. We're going to see if the phones are working. We've had a lot of problems tonight. We don't have the full crew here tonight because everybody's on vacation. But since we got a hold of Catherine Matteson, and the exclusive video we just got through showing you, it's never been shown.
Are you there, Mike?
Hold on. They're going to get it straight in just a minute. We'll have full crew here next week, right? Okay. Go right ahead.
Are you with me, Mike?
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm outraged at what my government did up there in Waco, and David's right. They can't get away with what they were doing. We've got to make them accountable in '96.
Now we can't hear it at all.
We've got to vote that liar out of the
There
White
you
House.
go.
We've got to vote him out in '96. I hold Bill Clinton accountable.
Bill Clinton or the Attorney General.
I hold Bill Clinton accountable.
And when they come back in here, maybe they can turn the volume up because we can barely hear it in here. Did you want to ask Catherine Matteson, a survivor of the Mount Carmel siege?
Yes, I do want to
question.
ask her a question. I can't hardly hear. I got a ringing in my ear, though.
Okay, they're trying to fix it.
Okay.
Just bear with us because we got half of the crew we regularly have up here. This was a last-minute deal since we got a hold of this Catherine Matteson, and we're trying to get it together for you.
Well, they've had several different explanations of the helicopter that fired on the ATF agents that went into the window. Were they shooting at the one that refused to go in the window? Were they shooting at him because he backed out at the last minute? He threw a couple of concussion grenades, it looked like, or were they real grenades in there after the other three agents went in the window? Then the helicopter rained gunfire onto the building, and then he slid down the ladder as fast as he could because they were firing on his position. So what I want to suggest to you is that maybe there was a conspiracy within the ATF to send these three agents in that had also, by some strange coincidence, been personal liaisons to Bill Clinton in the Secret Service. I think there might have been a plan within the ATF to off these three guys during the whole incident. That's a gangster term. I watched too many old movies, but I think there was a plan to do away with these three guys that had seen some goings on in the White House unfavorable to Bill Clinton. And I want to ask you about that if you know anything about that.
Well, I had heard that three of the men that had been with Bill Clinton had been murdered. And but what I saw was behind the building, and the three helicopters that came in V formation shooting at David's room. This came they were in the back of the building. They were shooting from the north side of the building through the back to the south side where his room was. And this was the first shooting that anyone heard. When they turned around to go out, there was a few seconds of complete silence. There was no shooting at all. Then when they got to the front of the building, there was more shooting. And I believe this is when J.D. was shot. She was the one that had been feeding her baby, and her daughter had brought the baby out into the hallway, and she was shot by the helicopters. Winston, who was in the downstairs in one of the back rooms, had been shot also. And it was because the water tanks that we had there for storage had been, they had put holes in them trying to eliminate our water supply. And one of the bullets had gone through the water in the tank and into his room. And he was shot at that particular time, and they finally found him face down in the water in his room.
Well, the whole incident, and I'm sorry, I'm very sorry for your losses. The whole incident is in violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. They are not to use military force against sovereign citizens of the United States of America. And when that starts happening, we've gone from a democracy to a socialist state. That's what happens in China, in Red China, is they roll the tanks out when people speak out against the government or they do something a little bit different. David Koresh was probably guilty of being a bigamist. But do we go out there and kill the women and children that would have been his victims if you were going to find him guilty of being a bigamist? I mean, this is a good point. You know, if someone's raped, we don't murder them.
Well, they were always talking about helping the children, protecting the children. But, you know, their actions were actually contrary to what they said. When they started in the front of the building and they were shooting, every room upstairs on the second floor where I was. My room was in the back of the building, but as I walked down the corridor to come out, every single window on the front side of the building had been destroyed, and all the glass was inside. All the doors were full of holes. When I went downstairs, I was amazed. The walls, everything had holes in it, and that just doesn't happen. All the bullets were coming into the building,
Right.
not going out, because especially at the door, the doors were metal. They tried to say that the door had been consumed by the fire.
Right.
Then they said no, the door was missing, but that door was full of holes.
Yeah.
And that was the door that Perry Jones was standing behind, and he had at least 4 bullets in his midsection.
Well, there's no doubt that they were trying to kill David Koresh from the beginning of the thing. They were shooting at him when he went to the door and told him to stop.
Well, I'm positive it started with them trying to eliminate David. I'm sure they felt that if they got rid of David, the rest of us would collapse. But you see, the message that David had been given us would do anything but make us collapse, because we knew what was going on. Not that we knew that they were coming in, not that we knew they were going to attack us in that way, but we knew that there was a chance that they might come in to take the children. And this is really what we were concerned about. That is why the children were kept under surveillance by the parents and the other people in the building. Even when they went into our the sandbox we had made for them, there was always adults with them, because we certainly didn't want to lose one child.
Okay, we're going on to the next call. Can we have another call, please?
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see you again. Catherine, it's a pleasure and an honor to see you on the show tonight and have an opportunity to talk with you. We thank God that you did survive. And
she looks like a real criminal up here, don't she?
I sure do.
yeah,
All I need is my gun.
we all are, huh? At any rate, yeah, my family and I, we all share your grief, and we wish it hadn't been that way, not only because of your loss, but also because of the loss to our nation. So we do grieve with you. I don't really have any questions. I've seen a lot of tape about the incident, but I would like it if you could tell us a little bit more about what David thought and taught.
Well, David started in 81. He came to Mount Carmel looking for a prophet. He said there was always a prophet. And why in this time, when people need more help than ever before, isn't there a prophet around? And he was talking to a lady up near Tyler, and she said, "Oh, I know where a prophet prophetess is." And he said, "Where?" And she said, "In Waco." He said, "Will you take me?" And that's how come he came down to Waco. Lois Roden was in charge of the group at that time, and he did come down, and he gave she and I a 5-hour study. And then he left and went back home. But he called up a little later and asked if he could come down to live, and he was told why, of course, and he did come down. He did have a going back and forth because he was a street evangelist at the time, and he lived in his car. He was a carpenter, a finisher, and so in a few days he could make quite a good deal of money, and he would do that. Then he'd go back because he wanted to talk to the young people. He felt there was a great need there, which is true, and he used to do evangelizing a long time before he ever came to us.
Okay, River City Talk comes to you from 9 to 10:30 p.m. every Tuesday night right here on Channel 16, right after Greg Erickson's show. He comes on from 7 to 8:30. on Channel 16. And we're going on to the next call. And if you want to watch part 2 of this exclusive for Austin, it'll be on the Jeff Davis Show tomorrow night at 8:30, right here on Channel 16. You'll be on the Jeff Davis Show with part 2 of this of the tape and of your interview.
That's what I understand.
Okay, we appreciate you bypassing all the major media and coming over here to Austin Cablevision.
Well, I've been here before. So.
That's right, one time before
Right.
on the Jeff Davis Show.
Right.
But you were on several other national shows, but they cut out what you had to say, right?
Some of them, yes.
Okay.
But I did get on a few shows that up in the Northwest, especially.
I'm amazed how many people here in Austin don't know the real story about what happened at Waco. Are you amazed?
Oh, I'm amazed that people don't know, but I found people even in Waco that hadn't heard about it. So it just shows that some people just miss things.
I'm glad that I got informed on this issue because it's really enlightened me. I've had people call me all sorts of names. I've had death threats. I've had everything since we've been investigating this.
You will. That will be the least of it.
And but don't be afraid to call us on the comment line at 370-9558. We appreciate all your calls, and we're going on the next call. They got the call checked out here. Hello.
Hello?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes. Go right ahead for Catherine Matteson.
Well, according to an Associated Press story as it appeared in the Austin American Statesman on March 1st of 1994, on page B3, the jurors at the trial of the surviving Branch Davidians were horrified to discover from the government's own testimony that those tanks that we watched on tape and on our television sets were not just punching holes in the wall to insert gas. They were ordered to penetrate that residence that was occupied with men, women, and children. And they did penetrate, a room's length or more, quote unquote, and some of the children that we were told our government was saving died in this manner. Thank heavens for alternative media, such as public access TV, and also there's an amateur network of computer BBSs and the internet that is also an alternative media that is getting information out to masses of people that would not see it in any other way. If you have a computer and a modem, and you live here in Austin, Texas, this is free. You can call Liberty BBS, which is free. The number is 462-1776, and there is a message conference, which is sort of like a call-in show except in text, that you can access from that computer bulletin board system, and the comments that you'll be looking at and the comments that you'll make over your computer will be seen all over the country and all over the world, and this is free. And there's also a file area devoted to this Waco issue. Both of them are named Waco, the message conference and the file area. And the file area contains a lot of extensive reports and background research information. Ma'am, wasn't there an effort to try to get some of the Branch Davidians onto these computer online systems a while back when they were at the hotel up there?
This is the first time I've ever heard of it.
Oh, okay.
And I lived at the Brittany for quite a while. But
I know some folks.
After I got out of jail.
I know some
They
folks
put her in
were eager
jail
to get
first.
you on there.
Yeah, I was in jail for a while.
But you were found innocent of the...
Well, they actually filed charges against me, and the judge came up and told me what I was charged for, and it would be lifetime, 100 years, or 50 to 75 years.
Conspiracy to murder a federal agent.
Murder, conspiracy to murder, and conspiracy was what I was being charged with. But the very next day, it was just about 24 hours later, I was in the federal court, and they dismissed the charges but told me I was a witness. And that was worse because I was really under confinement then in solitary. But fortunately, the judge had talked with me, and I had met a lawyer that they knew the judge, and between the two of them, I was transported down to the lawyer's home, which was very beautiful, and they were very lovely people, Christian people. And I lived there over a month, and nobody knew where I was. In fact, I didn't even know where I was. But you were talking about them ramming the building. When they went to ram the building, they rammed every staircase. And they made it so bad that when David Thibodeau tried to get upstairs to see his wife and the children, he couldn't get upstairs. And so he had to stay downstairs. Of course, at that time, he really didn't know that they had been brought downstairs to be put in an area where it was safer than being upstairs on the second floor. But you notice that when they rammed the sides of the building, you could see the building was starting to lean and sort of collapse. When they went through the very front section of the building, right where they knew which happened to be our refrigeration area, they called it the bunker. When they went in there, they rammed the top of it. And when they rammed the top of it, it was made of very heavy cement. Parts of the roof fell in and crushed the children and the women that were under it. And then they tried to say that we had taken hammers and bashed
but we were there to save. We were there to save the kids, though, Catherine.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
But anyway, is that caller gone? I guess they're gone.
I guess so.
We're ready for another call. Was David Koresh near death before the fire? Do you think he was? Did he lose a lot of blood, and was he near death?
Well, when he was shot, he was. I talked with the two ladies that were nurses, and they told me that he had lost so much blood that it seemed almost impossible he could replace it. When I saw him, I was called down to where he was because he wanted me to take out the 58-minute tape. I would really not have come out without that.
The tape that we just saw, that's the one you brought?
It was on audio.
Okay.
That was to be put on radio.
Okay.
And he wanted to go, all over the United States so people could hear it. And so I finally said yes. I didn't really want to come out, but I said yes because he said, I want people to understand about us. And I did bring it out, and I gave it to the gentleman who was supposed to receive it and put it on the air. And this is when they fingerprinted me and put me in jail.
And that's why a lot of them didn't want to come out, because they were scared that they would be treated the same way you were.
Well,
right?
when they saw me...
People always call here and ask that. And also, were they being shot at when they were coming out? Some of them?
Well, I'm not sure about the others, but I know the shooting, even though it had stopped after 45 minutes, it still was going on in areas. Like when Mike was trying, the man that they said was trying to leave, he was trying to get back to his children. And they shot him, and he had...
shot him in the back?
Four shots in his back. And then when he was down in the gully, face down, someone came along and put 2 bullet holes in his head, which just disintegrated his face.
That's terrible. Oh, you got another call on the line? Hello?
Hello?
Welcome to River City Talk.
Hi.
Hi.
I'd like to ask the lady a question. You are a survivor, and you saw the actual bullet holes in the roof, in the ceiling?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, but can you speak up?
I understand what you said. Yes, not only when I was in my room, I did not find room enough to lay down in the hole with the children and the women. The women were over the children to protect them. In my room, I had always thought if anyone was coming in the building, they would come through the back. There was a roof under our windows in the back that was over our dining area, which was a huge building, huge room. You could step from the roof into the building because it was only about 3 feet from the roof, the windows were. And so when the shooting even was going on, I get up to look out to make sure no one was coming in the window because I had one of the windows in my own room. And some of the windows were open back there, and they could easily have stepped in. One of the women that was out in the hall kept yelling at me to get down because I was going to get shot. And later I found out the reason she was yelling that way was because the bullets were even going through her hair. And when I came out and walked the length of the corridor, I saw all the windows shot out. The glass was on the inside, not on the outside. The Venetian blinds were hanging on their side. There were holes everywhere. If you remember or heard about it, one of the children that came out, they were having them draw pictures, and all these dots were on the pictures, even on the roof. And they said, what are the dots? And the child said, oh, those are bullet holes.
Okay. Caller.
One thing I wanted to ask was that Dick DeGuerin is one of the few people from outside who actually saw this.
Dick DeGuerin,
and
the lawyer?
He has a certain amount of credibility, but it doesn't seem like enough people really listened to him or believed him.
Well, Dick wasn't the only one that came in. Jack came in too, Jack Zimmerman, and they were both on nationwide shows. And I was very impressed by both of them, how they answered and what they said. They had tried their best to make it possible for everyone to come out and be safe when they come out. Part of the problem was the people inside realized what was going on to the ones who did come out. And many of them would not come out. I know that many of them did not want to come out because, they wanted to stay there. That was their home. That was our home. It wasn't just a building. It wasn't a church. We had meetings there and we studied the Bible continuously, but it wasn't just a church. We lived there.
Do you think if this could happen to y'all up there, do you think this could happen to Jews, to Muslim people? And
it has already happened to individuals. Since I have been out, I have learned many things that's been going on that I did not know while I was in there, that happened before us, and that also happened after our incident.
So we need to bring this to light, and also
people better become aware of what's going on.
If they would just listen to both sides of the story on this issue. I found people that I've talked to throughout this, little investigation we've done since we've been in contact with the Davidians and Jack DeVault and this and that people will not listen to both sides of the story. They will just listen to one side of the story, and that's the ATF, the FBI, and the government side. Is that what you've found?
Well, how can you make a decision? How can you make a decision on anything if you don't know the complete story?
Okay, just a second, sir.
It's absolutely impossible to do that.
Okay, go right ahead, sir.
Hello, what's that lady's name again?
Catherine Matteson.
Catherine Matteson. Oh, did David Koresh claim to be Jesus Christ? BHS.
Welcome to River City Talk.
I want to answer him. No, he did not.
Go ahead and answer him.
If you must know, he did not. He did not ever say he was Jesus Christ. He never said it.
They took his words out of context, is what I was told.
There have been so many things said that are untrue. It's very hard to counteract lies. Very hard, because people turn what you say around and make you say something you weren't even thinking of.
If you give us a call on the comment line at 370-9558, we'll make sure you get the real story of Waco if we have to stay up all night, right? We're only going to be on at 10:30, but give us a call on the comment line. Go right ahead, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, what is the real story?
What's the real story? You're not getting both sides of the story.
Well, okay, well...
if you hadn't watched the show from the beginning, it's kind of hard for us to sum it up.
I saw a lot of it, but let me just say I'm a student at UT.
Okay. And, can we turn this box up a little bit in here? We got half the crew here tonight, so we're working on it. There you go.
Okay.
I'm a student at UT. My name is Kevin.
Okay,
and,
how you doing?
I was just, obviously, the ATF was pretty presumptuous in a lot of things they did. I disagree with the way they used force, for example, in bringing the tanks in. But what I'm having a hard time with, when you say that we're just looking at it from one side, or a lot of people are, is it seems as though David Koresh, on the other hand, tried to martyrize himself.
No.
Is it true that did he have a hand in setting fire to the
No, no. David, I don't have enough time to tell you things so that you will understand.
Sum it up in one.
But one of the things I know.
Well, who set the fire?
Well, I don't know.
I don't think anybody knows
I
that,
wasn't.
sir.
I can't say who said it. I know one thing. I know that no one in our group said it. I know that. I have heard other reasons how it was set. And right now, what I wanted to say was this about the suicide. That is absolutely a falsehood. Because if he had wanted to commit suicide, he could have done it a long time ago, after he was shot. When I saw him, he looked like he was going to die. And I believe the reason he made the tape that I brought out was because he thought he might die at that time. He looked like he didn't have a drop of blood in his veins when I looked at him. And this is one reason I took the tape out. And I thought sure that we were going to court, that he would come out and they'd have him in court and we'd all be, brought before a judge or something. But
okay, sir.
Didn't
what do
happen.
you think about how many people still in prison? We still got political prisoners.
At least 11.
11 Davidians that are still in prison at this time.
Well, yeah, about 11. Because one is coming out very soon.
We need to press for their release, don't you think?
I hope we can make it. Because they have so much... they have made the amount that they owe so high that even if
$1.2 million.
Right, even if they come, they have to do the 40 years, from what I understand, and even if they do the 40 years, and they don't pay the money that the government says they owe, they're going to be charged so many years in jail for so much money.
And by the way,
they'd be there forever.
By the way, they were found innocent in the
That's right.
conspiracy to murder a federal agent.
Oh yes, there was no conspiracy, and there was no murder that they talked about. If you have the opportunity to look at some of the tapes that I've seen, you would realize that there was no murder. That some of them, they talk about friendly fire on some of the tapes. What's friendly fire?
They shot each other?
Oh.
Are you there, sir?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes, we can hear you. Go right ahead.
I was just going to make a statement. I truly believe that David Koresh was a Christian and that he believed in the biblical concept of the Bible. I think he truly
Absolutely.
preached whatever the Bible teaches. But this is just an example of what's going to happen to us Christians. We are going to be looked at as a sect of demonic beings or whatever because we believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. And I think that that's why the Lord says be prepared to suffer, because I think we're going to suffer a lot of this same thing that David Koresh and the people that live there at the camp because we profess to be Christians and believe in Jesus Christ. So it's just something that they're going to show the people that if you do profess to be a Christian and you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, that this is just an example of what's going to happen to those people that profess to be Christians. And that's just a comment that I wanted to make.
All righty, thank you,
sir.
Well,
there is a one world order coming into being, and when they have the one world order fully, there is going to be a religion that everyone will be expected to go along with, and I'm sure it will not be biblical.
Hello?
Because they hate they go after the people that are studying the Bible.
Are you there, caller?
Yes.
Okay, let me just make a statement here to the people in the control room. We're running half the speed tonight, but we're going to go ahead and just go on straight on out, and we're not going to run the rollout, and we're going to go on until they cut us off. We got 8 minutes, so go right ahead.
Okay.
Am I there?
Yes, you're there. Go ahead.
I was wondering, do you know why this even happened?
Yes, I do. There's more than one reason, and I can't go into them now.
But Part 2 is going to be on the Jeff Davis show at 8:30 tomorrow night on the same channel. She'll be on that TV show, the second part of the video, and she's going to be on just on the last part of the show like she is here. She's going to get into it more.
Let me tell him one thing. I don't believe this has ever been brought public, but when we were on, we had to leave Mount Carmel for a while, and George Roden we let George Roden have it for a while, and he was put in jail. And when he was put in jail, we came back on the property. When we came back on the property, he had let it run down. We found out that there was people there that were not just from jail but from prison that had been more or less in charge of one of the huge houses that were at the back end of the camp, and they had a amphetamine lab there. When we finally went in, after we got our own houses straightened out and all the garbage out that they had left and cleaned it up and cleaned up the outside, we went up to that place and we started to clean it. As we cleaned it, we found the evidence. David called the sheriff's department, and they came out, and I happened to be the one with David at the time. He put it on the hood of the car, spread it out, and showed them what we had found. And there was some white powder there. I'm sure you've heard of that. And the sheriff took his finger and put in his mouth like this on his tongue, and then went into the powder and put it back on his tongue. And when he did that, he just scooped everything up and he left very hurriedly. He didn't say one word. He didn't say thank you or anything. They just left. Nothing was ever said about it. Even when George started his shooting at us, and we had to go to court to prove that the place was ours. He had allowed these people to do this. He had allowed them to set up this lab. He had allowed them to not only do that, but they were doing a lot of other things that we found evidence of in this building. But that was never talked about.
Okay, they're telling me to hurry up. Okay, are you there, caller?
Am I on?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay.
We got Catherine Matteson. She's a Mount Carmel survivor.
Okay, I was wondering, why didn't everyone just walk out as soon as the federal agents arrived the first day that there was any type of government agent or local agent or whatever? Why didn't people just walk out of the compound and just, stand outside? If there was going to be some type of government murder on a bunch of people, then it would have been obvious when everybody was laying there dead.
I think it was very obvious to see what happened.
Well, I just don't understand. If everybody just decided,
let me ask
we're going to be fighting against an army here. Why don't we
let me ask you a question?
And surrender and see what
they really want. She wants to ask you a question, sir.
I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
You're in your home with your family, and all of a sudden somebody comes to your house and surrounds it and starts to fire at you. Are you going to come out? I don't think so.
Well, there was a lot of media there. There was times when I'm sure that there was. Oh, well, I guess if I was in a place with 100 people or so, and a bunch of police drove up and told us to walk out and were shooting
they
in
didn't
the
tell
windows
us.
They told us to walk
Sir,
out.
They didn't tell him. They started shooting.
They did not tell us to walk out.
She saw the
There was
helicopter
no
shooting.
knocking at the door.
Could you have thrown white
There
flags
was
out
no
the windows?
search warrant.
So that way any media
Sir,
covering the issue would have seen all these white flags and messages saying we surrender, whatever. There was no attempt to just kind of say, hey, we really want to leave.
Have you done any investigation at all on this, sir? Tell me the truth.
Okay, here's my second point. Okay, if that's the case where you couldn't leave and everything was like that, and there's all this evidence that you have that things were as bad as they were, then is there not an attorney who would take your case and you could sue the government?
We're doing that,
sir. That have happened.
They're doing
the evidence that
we're trying to, sir. We're trying to do that. Have you ever seen Constantine Wire? I didn't see it until just a very short time ago. They had that right up to the windows. They couldn't have gone out the windows. They couldn't have gone out the door. You couldn't get out of there. Now, they said they put it around to keep people, they didn't say whether going in or coming out, but you couldn't get in or out of that place.
Well, I'm not going to say that.
Ramsey Clark and the $1 billion lawsuit, sir. They are suing Ramsey Clark and the $1 billion lawsuit. That's what they got going on right now.
That's right.
Stay tuned right here for more classics on this channel here, Hanson Archives. But to fund this station, I'm offering, if you send us $25, we'll send you a signed copy of Bohemia Grove Cult of Conspiracy. It was forwarded by Tex Mars that just recently passed away. Also, Alex Jones has a chapter in here. And you know that's good. There's us in our younger days. But on the address that you see, send us $25 and we will send you a signed copy, or give us a call at 830-672-3089 and you can put it on a credit card. We'll send it right out. But that's what we need to help fund this channel, folks. So help us get all the classics uploaded to YouTube. We got hundreds and hundreds of old Alex Jones and Jeff Davis and a bunch of other patriots that we need to upload. About 25-year-old tapes.
I believe that if you're successful with that lawsuit, that everybody's eyes will be open to what really happened, and they will be able to hear both sides.
Let me just say this before we go off.
I wish you luck with that suit.
Sir, let me just say this before we go off, that I felt the same way you did a year ago. And since I've been looking into this, I found out a lot of things that does not match up with what the government's saying. But anyway, go right ahead. We're going to try to get one more call in before I have to make the announcement. Hurry.
Catherine, thanks for being on tonight. All of us here in Austin appreciate it. I think the ATF ought to crack down on all the fraternity houses where all the real drugs and fornication's going on.
Okay, remember, River City Talk comes to you from 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. every Tuesday night right here on Channel 16. Remember, part 2 of this, the real Waco lie, I guess it would be. Well, we're not having to roll out. I'm making announcements. I have to make the announcements. It's going to be on Channel 16 on the Jeff Davis Show. Go right ahead, ma'am.
Hello,
we're going to try to get as many calls in as we can.
Hello, I'm curious that, this is going to be relating to that, we heard the reports that some young girls were being, abused there. I want to know, honestly, what was the youngest age of a girl who had a baby with Koresh?
Okay, hurry, because we're going to go off the air in less than a minute. Hurry.
I'm trying to think.
And if she don't get through it, ma'am, tune in to the Jeff Davis Show tomorrow night, and she'll tell that answer.
Okay.
I'd probably say it was Rachel, who was his legal wife.
And how old was she?
She was about 14, I think.
14 years old. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
15.
That's kind of touchy. I mean, is that an okay? Does everyone think that's okay? Or?
Well, give us a call at the comment line. Put the comment line up there at 370-9558. We'd love to hear what you have to say, and we'll have the questions out on the Jeff Davis Show tomorrow night.
Okay, thanks for taking my call.
All righty, thank you, and we appreciate you coming on, Catherine Matteson, a Mount Carmel survivor, and I've met quite a few. You don't want to be called Davidians, but Davidians in the last couple months, and I really appreciate y'all coming on here.
That's
and
the
exclusive video that we had tonight, and the part 2 is going to be on tomorrow night. We're off.
I love my Hanson Archives.
Yeah! You ready to run? The Waco showdown is still burning.
Topping tonight's news, a scene of mass destruction becomes a foundation for a new beginning. Good evening, I'm Kim Barnes.
And I'm Phil Scott. Austin volunteers are rebuilding a chapel on the site of the Branch Davidian compound near Waco. The compound burned down in 1993 after a 51-day standoff between Davidians and federal agents. Davidian leader David Koresh and about 80 followers died. KV24's Joel Thomas reports on the new plans for the property.
I've known the Branch Davidians a long time, and I think they're good, God-fearing people. I think they were demonized.
Raise your hand if you need to have instructions.
Most are galvanized by the thought the federal government murdered the Davidians. They videotape deputies who've come to hurry them along. They don't trust law enforcement anymore, or the media. With donated materials and labor,
take exit number 339.
They receive directions, head to ground zero.
We're gonna rebuild it!
Waco. At the Davidian compound, the work begins even as the convoy pulls in.
Still have the stadium seating in here. So
Plans are for a modest chapel.
they're in the process of digging these holes right now. They anticipate at least 3 months for the construction process.
They build on the very site where America saw a shootout.
I think it's sad that a lot of people don't really care, what happened here.
Seeing the battered rubble here staggers even those who've studied the standoff. As they reflect on what happens, there's a sense even students of Waco don't know the entire message.
It's not the same. I want to live here, but I need a trailer to do it, and I don't have the money.
You would come back out here and live
You
like that?
bet I would in a wink.
Watson walks in a memorial grove, each withered tree planted for someone who died here. There is still a lonely vigil for David Koresh's return, a lonely feeling no one from outside of the compound can ever understand.
I'll tell you, when helicopters come after you, and you see them, and you hear them, and you know what they're doing, that's an entirely different story.
Even so, one of the workers who drove here from Austin says he feels like he's building a future tourist stop, a sort of Alamo for the Branch Davidians. But one of the Branch Davidians who is here tells me that's okay. After all, he says the only chapel they really need is in heaven. In Waco, Joel Thomas, KVUE 24 News.
The Davidians hope to start building a compound once the chapel is complete, but right now they're still looking for volunteers to complete this project.
Are largely all that remains of the Branch Davidian complex where Koresh and his followers died in that horrible inferno.
There are headstones honoring the fallen, charred shells of Davidian buses, and an old Airstream trailer crushed by government tanks.
And here in these desolate killing fields, I would discover living testimony that may help unravel the mystery of Waco.
They systematically took it in turns, not only to spray the gas, but to demolish the building.
Clive Doyle is one of only 9 Davidians who got out of the blaze alive. Incredibly, he's actually back living on that same property in this mobile home, keeping the memory of Koresh and his doomed flock alive.
Why stay? Why be so close to a reminder of what happened?
And because we believe it's God's turf, I think it's worth fighting for.
Doyle managed to escape the burning compound through a hole in a wall just as it burst into flames.
And I'm looking down at the building, I see this big ball of flame go up like an explosion. And I wrote everybody else off.
Tragically, Clive's 18-year-old daughter, Sherry, did not make it out. Despite these revelations about the use of flammable tear gas canisters, the Attorney General this week still insisted the FBI did not start the fire.
That fire was set by David Koresh and the people in that building.
But Clive Doyle and other surviving Davidians flatly deny that and say nobody should believe the government.
It seems like their initial reaction is to lie first, and you only admit that you're lying if you get caught.
Such a beautiful girl.
While Clive Doyle simmers, fellow Davidian Sheila Martin suffers. She lost her husband and 4 of her children in that Holocaust.
It was just too much. Just to think that they had gone like that. They were smart children and they were trying to be good.
Sheila had surrendered to the FBI weeks earlier on the promise that her family would also be allowed to leave safely.
My children stayed and my husband stayed because they believed these men outside.
I call it murder. That's what I call it.
Catherine Matteson also escaped the Davidian complex before the fiery finale of death and destruction. She, like the others, claimed the government deliberately set the blaze.
What was the reason for the fire?
When they saw we weren't going to give in, they had to get rid of us. They had to get rid of us. They had to cover up everything that had happened.
There's always new federal lies that we are forced to counter here.
Texas talk radio personality Alex Jones has been crying murder and cover-up from day one of the Waco horror.
These are thugs who wanted to engage in terrorism against the American people. And I say their terrorism has failed, and this horrendous lie is starting to unravel.
The surviving Davidians say the same thing.
That's what they do for a job, is they lie.
When I tell what I tell, I'm telling the truth. And if people accept it, fine.
We just believe that God would not let the truth be hidden.
And Waco keeps burning.
And
And just today, several federal prosecutors in Texas have been relieved from the case, including one who had complained of, quote, a possible government cover-up. Meanwhile, surviving Davidians are hoping the new investigations will lead to the release of more than a dozen of their sect members from prison.
Well, hello, folks, and stay tuned for more classics here on Mike Hanson Archives and our new channel, Waco Archives. And don't forget our oldest channel, Mike Hanson Archives, here on YouTube. Stay tuned for more, but make sure y'all get everybody to subscribe to Hanson Archives and the new one, Waco Archives. We're busy every day uploading more and more videos. We have hired somebody to do that and bought the equipment to do it. It's a lot of work. If you would like to help out with that situation, send us $25 and I will send you my book, and everything that comes in from my book will be used to fund these 3 channels. So stay tuned right here to YouTube and Facebook. I am Mike Hanson from Gonzales, Texas on Facebook. Thanks a lot and God bless.
I love Mike Hanson Archives.
Get ready to run.